Hi, good morning. Can everyone wave and just say good morning to make sure you can hear me? Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, Whisk, say hi.
Hi, welcome back. I see a few familiar faces. I'm Maria Martone. I'm with an organization called Urban Seeds. Today is our first episode of Book and Cook in partnership with the Evansville Vanderburgh Public Library. And I have Kelly here from the library. Hi. She is the one sending all your emails and following up with you guys about ingredients. And she also handles our audio visual for today, as well as our chat box. So just know that you guys can use the chat box throughout the episode today. And she will read those off to me and we will respond, or I'll respond verbally. Okay? Does that sound good? Does everyone have their ingredients and their supplies ready? And then, of course, the other thing I'm going to ask is, has everyone washed their hands before we get started? We've got some nods. If you haven't washed your hands, you can definitely take a few moments to wash your hands. And one of our first things is to wash your vegetables too. So if you want to give a quick rinse to your cucumbers and carrots and jalapeno, and a little bit with your herbs, let's take a few minutes to do that right now as a few other people join us. That would be a good thing to start with. Hands and vegetable washing. I've already washed all my vegetables, so I'm all ready to go, and I'm gonna get ready to start really soon. I'll wait because I see you guys moving around. So today we're going to be making the tangy carrot and cucumber salad. It's from this fabulous cookbook you guys got, Dynamite Kids Cooking School. Have you guys read through this book? Have any of you gotten a chance to take a look at this book yet? Yeah? Are you excited about it? Did you see some cool things you're excited to make? We got some nods. We got some nods. All right, awesome. Well, this recipe comes from that book. We have a few slight, changes we're gonna make, and of course, with any recipe that we do on our episodes, you can always modify things to, based on what you like or what you don't like. There's always a little bit of flexibility to cooking. Baking, maybe there's a little less flexibility, but we'll talk about that more on a baking episode. Um, so today we won't be doing much hot cooking, but this is a great place to start because we do talk about knife safety and knife skills. And we'll get started with that really soon. So I think I've got everybody back at their chairs or wherever they're working. And we're gonna get started with the cucumbers here. And these cucumbers are from May's Farm Market. And today I'm actually wearing their t-shirt. And they are located just a little bit north of downtown Evansville. Like I said, it's called May's Farm Market. And these are local cucumbers we're using today. And before we get started with our knife, like I said, if you would like to peel your cucumbers, you are able. I'm actually going to take a second, and you may need a parent or guardian for this part. If you want to peel your cucumbers or your carrots, it's best to do that before you start cutting. So I'm going to just peel maybe one of my cucumbers just to show you guys. This is a lot older peeler than you probably have at home. I just found this in the church we're using today. But I'm going to see if this works, first of all, and try to peel this cucumber just really quickly. And the best thing to do is to stand it up and make sure that your fingers are right at the top. And then you can just peel down. I don't really worry about getting every part of the peel because I don't mind a little peel. But if you want, you can get that pretty clean. The recipe in the book does peel both the cucumber and the carrot first. So like I said, I'm just going to peel one today. And you may need a parent or guardian for help with the peeler. And then we'll get right into the knife and cut and knife safety and some cutting. I did not bring a scrap bowl. And I will work on that for next episode. So usually I try to get a little scrap bowl in my kitchen cooking area so that I can just throw some of my trash in there while I work, or you can compost it if you do that at home. All right. How's everyone doing that is choosing to peel? I think they're still working away. I'll do one of my carrots too. I usually leave the peel on. But some people just prefer to peel.
You scrub your carrots too, or do you just?
Yeah, I scrub my carrots. I try to get, carrots do grow underground, so they do have a lot of grooves in it that trap a lot of, they can trap sand and dirt. So it's always good to wash your carrots for sure. Cucumbers usually aren't very dirty, but also always good to wash them. So we've got I see some peeled vegetables going on. And we're going to kind of move on to the cuts. So you all should have one of these paring knives. And they're all funky colors. So I've got two here today. I got a green and a pink. And we're going to start cutting the cucumbers. Let's see. Let me move over here to see if you can see it more. But I guess I'll be in this angle. Kind of funny, right? I'll just try to angle a little bit. Can everyone see me okay? Yeah, okay. So first, we're going to cut off the ends. That's typically what I do. Just cutting off that little knob up on each end. And if you haven't used a knife before, you just want to make sure you don't have your hand in the way while you're cutting, obviously. So always try to keep track of your other hand and place it far away from where you're cutting. And then you want to have your thumb on this side and your other guide hand on the other guide finger on this side. So I know it's kind of hard to see from far away, but yeah, this is where your guardian steps in. These knives are very sharp, so you got to be careful. But we want you to get practice on these vegetables that are pretty easy to cut. And the next thing you're going to do is I'm going to cut my cucumber in half. So I'm going to be really careful once again about my fingers, but try to run the knife down the center to get a flat surface. So if you need to run it through twice, that's okay. So now my cucumber's in half. Like I said, be really careful with that other hand. I know this is going to be new for a lot of you. And that's why we ask that a parent and guardian be around. Some of you have worked with me last year, and we did a lot of chopping last year. So now that we've got it in this phase, you always want to cut vegetables with the flat side down if you can. So, I've just put my cucumbers down on the flat side, and then I'm going to go in and start cutting them in those 1/4 inch pieces. So I'm going to say that's about this size. So here's one. Maybe I can put it up if I get it right here. It's like about this size. All right. So you're just going to start cutting that whole cucumber in little chunks. Oh, I forgot about seeding. I'm already going ahead of my recipe. Maybe you guys are following along better than I am. Like I said, I usually don't peel or seed my cucumbers, and I forgot a spoon. So I may need an assist. There's a spoon over there, I think, in one of those drawers. I'm so sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to keep those few with seeds in there because, like I said, I don't mind some seeds. But
I like the seeds.
I like the seeds too. But sometimes, so it doesn't get the recipe doesn't get as watery, they have you take the seeds out of the cucumber. So you can do that too with the spoon. And I'm just kind of using the spoon upside down and kind of just carving those out. You can save those for something else, but they also are going to go probably into your scrap pile. So I'm going to take a moment and kind of round that up and put that in my scrap pile. I'm sorry I missed that step because I'm going to have to do that for my other cucumber too. So we're going to keep working at those 1/4 rounds now that our cucumber is seeded. And later in the recipe, you put the cucumbers in a colander. I'm using, once again, an older one than you probably have at home. But to get ahead on that step, you can put the colander over your bowl and you can put the cucumbers right in that bowl once you have them in those quarter rounds. If you're not doing that, if you don't have a colander to do that step, that's okay. That step is primarily to get some of, once again, the water out of the cucumber. So I'm going to keep chopping. I'm going to check in with you guys in a second to see where you're at in your chopping. Everyone chops at a different pace, and that's okay if it's taking you a little longer. I'm going to work at this next cucumber that I'm not going to peel. I'm going to cut this one in half before I cut it in half again. And when I usually cut things like this in half, I hold it on either side. But once again, you have to be pretty careful that you're not getting anywhere close to your fingers. I see a lot of parents helping today, and I appreciate that. So once again, I'm going to take out the seeds. This is a different cucumber, so it actually has more seeds than the last one. I'm going to try to get most of that out. I'm not too worried about it. I also like seeds. And the skin is usually just a little bit more bitter, and that's why people prefer it off. But really has really good different vitamins, and I think I like the flavor.
Some snacking happening.
Oh yeah, snacking is always accepted in the kitchen, especially when you are doing fresh fruits and vegetables. It's hard not to snack.
I know.
Sometimes once I start making a fresh vegetable snack, I'm like, man, I really need to do this more often because it's just getting started and then the craving happens. So I'm going to keep this one. I cut some seeds out. I'm going to take some more seeds out. I didn't know it was going to take us so long just to do 2 cucumbers here. I hope everyone likes cucumbers. Obviously, there's a lot in this salad today. I definitely like them in the summer on a hot day. I think I've got plenty of cucumbers, so I am just going to put this aside. And then you'll see now, see if I can show you here. I've got all my cucumber rounds in my colander ready to go. How do yours look? Are you guys almost done with your cucumber, or are you still going to be working for a few minutes? We got some shakes that you're still working, so that's okay. The more and more you use your knife, the quicker you'll become at chopping and working with fresh fruits and vegetables. It is a skill that you need to practice, and it can be hard at first, especially things like onions. You know, there are chefs that they get a whole bag of onions and they just cut onions and just to get better at chopping them quickly. So it is a skill that you do have to practice, but it's a good skill to have because that helps get dinner on the table a lot quicker. Then I'm going to start getting set up with the carrots, or for the carrots. And I'm gonna use our box grater today to do my cuts of carrots. Like I said, this is kind of a flexible spot. You can do a few different types of carrots for this recipe. So, you know, some people can use just the peeler to do ribbons, or I'm gonna use this side, and my grater looks a little different than yours. Next time I'll try to match exactly what you have, but we're gonna use this side. It is sharp. So you may need, you know, a parent or guardian for this step as well. And if you don't have either one for whatever reason, you can just make some slices as well. This salad's pretty flexible. You can't really go wrong with how you cut your carrots. So some people are, let's see, peeling carrots. They're getting ready for carrots. There's some cleaning going on.
See that bowl of cucumber.
That looks good. I like the stripes with the. I do like when you peel and then you can see the stripes once everything cut. So sometimes you do things in cooking just for presentation. And we won't talk too much about that today because this salad's going to be maybe a little bit less about presentation, but it's always nice to think about those types of things when you're cooking, because when you're cooking for someone else, those are kind of like the little surprises you can put into your dishes just to make them a little bit more interesting. All right, I think we've got some graters ready. So, like I said, you can use kind of either side of your grater or a peeler. Like I said, in the cookbook, they use a peeler and they make these carrot ribbons. You know, I can try to show you a few of those, but I'm going to primarily use the box grater. So here is what you would do for carrots. You would hold the carrot up high. You'd put your fingers tucked away over here, and you'd use a peeler just to start working at the carrot, and you get these little ribbons. And those are fun. So if you want to try that with the help of a parent or guardian, definitely do it. That is, like I said, the original way on the cookbook. But another way you could do it is on this side. So like I said, these are sharp. Yours looks a little different than mine. So I think you guys have, yeah, you have two, one on the top and the bottom. So then you would go downward like this. You'd have your cutting board down. So make sure your cutting board's down flat, or your cutting board, I'm sorry, and your grater is down flat on the ground, on the table. I'm sorry. And then you're gonna angle your carrot downward, and it's just gonna take little pieces of your carrot off at the time. And you do want to keep your hand just really firm on top. And like I said, it's not a super easy thing to do, so you may need help. Or you can use the little grate. Like I said, I'm not worried about it because to me, all the flavor is going to be the same. And this side's probably going to be the easiest for you guys to use alone. So if this side is really hard to get some of those bigger pieces, just kind of pivot and do these shreds. Like I said, it's all going to taste the same. So this is what you'll get kind of on the one side, on this side with these larger holes. You know, a little bit thicker than the ribbons. Or you can get these grated shreds. But I'm going to try to keep working on the one side. And I see some of you are going to try the ribbons. So I'm going to keep going at it this side. Like I said, it can be hard for me too. And carrots are a lot harder than cucumbers. So they're a little bit more difficult to work with. And then, like I said, if you don't have any special equipment, you can always just start chopping, but I would try to chop as thinly as possible. So there's always so many ways you can kind of achieve a similar result. And right now we're just trying to get thin pieces of carrot. So whatever way you choose, let me know how it's going. Like I said, this one is hard kind of to get down any further. I think I'm going to shred the rest of it. I think these other parts of the grater are going to be too small for what we're wanting today. And I'm just kind of doing a little bit at a time to make some time for you guys to keep working. We got some carrot eating going on. We have some ribbons. I think a lot of people are going for the ribbons. So yeah, this is just the time to get familiar with these tools and what they can do. Sometimes we make hash browns with the grater, so we'll grate potato, and sometimes we even put in a little carrot too in our hash browns, or another root vegetable. Oh, I'm putting that in my cucumbers. That's the wrong thing to do. I keep thinking I'm making this salad already. I'm putting this in another bowl now. All right. It's always good to have some extra bowls around because you just never know. All right, we're still working at carrots. I'm gonna grate. I'm gonna chop. That's a. Is that left over from your ribbon? I see someone with their carrot. It looks like we needed some more help with the carrot than the cucumber. Like I said, carrots can be kind of hard. Box graters can be hard to use too if you're not comfortable. And they are sharp, so always be careful. Like I said, I'm having a hard time using this side too, so that's why we pivot in the kitchen. All right, I think we're getting close. I'm gonna clean my cutting board off a little bit again. Try to keep my kitchen space clean while I'm working. And then maybe I'll do a few more ribbons. I think we all got like 2 or 3 carrots, depending on what size we gave you. The recipe calls for 2 large carrots, and some of them were a little small. Alrighty. I got all types of carrots in my bowl. All right, let me check in with everybody. Are we all good to move on to the next step?
Yeah.
Okay, we got some thumbs up. So we're gonna wait. After I made this, I realized that we're gonna try to do the jalapeno last, because usually you want to do your spicy items at the end, and then then you can clean your cutting board and your knife. So we're gonna take a few steps back, a few steps maybe forward, and then we'll go back to the jalapeno. Does that sound okay? Okay. So first, we're gonna do step 4. So, like I said, I have my cucumbers in this colander, and I've placed it over a bowl. And you have 2 little packets that came with your recipe kit. You have one that says sugar, and the other one that doesn't have a label is kosher salt. So it's quite a bit of salt, but it'll mix into the rest of the salad. So like I said, this is the one. One says sugar, we're gonna use that later. We're gonna use the salt, and we're gonna pour it out. And if you think it's a little too much, that's based on your cucumbers, that's fine. But it's a pretty good amount, like I said. But you're gonna cover those cucumbers in salt. And since you're gonna add more ingredients later, this salt is kind of the only salt you're putting in the recipe. So it will kind of transfer to the recipe as a whole and the other ingredients. So once you've got that salt, I'm gonna mix up my cucumbers, mix the salt with my cucumbers to make sure that they're fully coated. And then we're gonna let that hang out while we finish the rest of the recipe. And hopefully the salt is gonna kind of coat the cucumbers, and it's gonna start to draw out liquid. So whenever you put salt on a vegetable, it starts to, there's like a kind of a chemical thing that happens where the water starts to come out of the vegetable. So ideally, in a few minutes, we may have some drips on the bottom of this bowl from cucumber. And if you need a second, I am going to take a second to just wipe my hands. Like I said, I just kind of put them all over the cucumbers, so I'm just going to get a little napkin here and wipe them off before I move on to my next step. Just want to check in, everyone. Have we salted the cucumbers? Can you give me a thumbs up once that step is done? We got a thumbs up. We're wiping our hands. All right. Then I think we're going to do the herbs and the jalapeno last. So let's work on the sauce for this salad. So we're going to get a smaller bowl just to make the sauce. And we are going to get our rice vinegar. So that's going to be what's in this container. And it's going to be that light liquid. Yes. So you can get that, and we've already measured this for you, but you are always welcome to check our measurements. So I have a little little bit different measuring cups than you today, but we are looking for a 1/4 cup. So if you want to check it, you always can. You know, if we give you a little bit under, you can let us know that too. But I'm gonna fill up my 1/4 cup and just see if we're right on point. And it looks just about right. I poured out all of it into my cup. I'm gonna put that into the bowl. So we typically try to give you kind of a spot on amount only because we buy all the ingredients and give them to you. But it's always good to check our measurements because we do have some fantastic volunteers that help us out, but you never know. And then the next ingredient is going to be the sesame oil. So I just wanted to show you the type of sesame oil we got. It's a toasted sesame oil. You'll see two in the grocery store. Some are toasted and some are not. So that's going to be in your other container. It's going to be that dark liquid. What do you guys think about the smell of that? Can you open that up and tell me a little bit about what you think about that? Have you smelled anything like that before? You're welcome to take you're welcome to use your microphone or join the chat. I think we definitely got some reactions to the sesame oil. So yeah, that might be a new flavor for you. So I'm gonna measure mine out. We already measured yours out. It's gonna be 2 tablespoons. Alrighty. And then the last ingredient is going to be the sugar. And that's kind of unique for a recipe, for a salad for sure, but it kind of balances out the vinegar and all the other flavors we'll be working with today. So this has also already been portioned out for you. This is 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm going to pour that right in. And like I said, that will help cut the vinegar. And we're also going to be adding a lot of herbs. So hopefully this just leads to a nice balance. And then I think I mentioned a whisk. And I just had to go get mine. And if you have a whisk, you can start mixing that up. Or you can use a fork, a spoon. There's not that many ingredients in this. You just want to try to mix it up for a little bit and dissolve some of the sugar. Had anyone worked with sesame oil before in their kitchen? Yeah, I got one hand up. Yeah, a lot of the flavors we're working today are, different Asian flavors. We're using some ingredients that are used in Thai dishes. So I understand if it's unfamiliar. Most of these things can be found very easily at the grocery store. I got this at Walmart. You can go to Meijer's, Schnucks. That stuff is definitely, things like toasted sesame oil are definitely available, as well as rice vinegar at most stores. All right. So that's all we need to do for the sauce. I'm going to set that aside for a second, and we're going to finish the rest of our ingredients. All right. Everyone's got their sauce done, it looks like. All right. We're going to move on to the herbs. So, have you guys worked with any of these herbs before? Do any of them look familiar to you? Yes, we got some nods. So we actually have 2 special ingredients that we included, and you can choose to use them or not. They are not on this recipe, but I wanted to just introduce a few other flavors that would go well with what we're doing today. So we can start with, let's start with this one. And this is going to be everyone, you can try a little bit too to start get a flavor for what these herbs are like. So this is our mint, and this one is actually spearmint. So let me see if I can try to get a close up here. So it's the one with like kind of more of the perforated edges here. Does everyone know which one I'm talking about? Okay. So I'm gonna add some into my salad today. Like I said, it's not in the recipe, but I like the flavor and I'm just gonna add a little bit as a garnish. So these things just all are gonna add some extra flavor. And you can pick off a few pieces of mint. And then I'm just gonna slice them. I'm just gonna slice them very carefully into some little sections. And they can be pretty rough. It depends how big you want your pieces in your salad. You could even tear them up a little bit if you want. And all of our herbs today are coming from a farm called Darnall School Farm, and a farmer named Kathy, and she grows a lot of herbs on her farm. Um, it's not too far away. It's in Mount Vernon, and I might mention her at other points in this season because she is definitely the one bringing the herbs to this area locally. So she provided all the herbs today. So once we got the mint, I am going to put that in the same bowl that I have my carrots in right now. It's just going to hang out in there. And then we've got another special ingredient. Does anyone know what this one is? Like I said, it's not on your recipe. Can you see it? Does anyone know what that is?
Is it basil?
It is basil, but it's a very special type of basil. But that's great that you do that. So yeah, this is Thai basil. So it has a really unique flavor. And once again, you can try a little bit. It's pretty pungent and strong. And I'm just going to take a few leaves, and that's going to go in my salad too. I know these are a lot of new flavors, so like I said, if you're trying it and you don't love it, that's okay. You don't have to include it. We just always want to try to introduce some new ingredients to you all. I've had this in pad Thai and things like that. Have you guys had anything with Thai basil in it before, or just basil in general that you really like? That's all right. We don't have much talking going on today. I'll keep talking. All right. So I've got a little bit of both in here. Like I said, you can put as much or little as you want. If you love herbs like me, I'll probably put some extra. And then we're going to move on to the last ingredient. Does anyone want to tell me what this one is?
Cilantro? Cilantro?
Yes, thank you. You guys are, yeah, welcome to shout it out. I'll call on you sometimes too. So yeah, this is local cilantro too. So you'll see the stems are a little bit more tender than the ones you get in the store. And you know, some people take all the cilantro off the stem, but today, because the stems are so tender, I'm gonna use the stems in my recipe. And you know, like these ones we used just small addition of those other herbs. This one you're supposed to have about a quarter cup. So I'm gonna take off some of the bigger stems on the bottom. But I'm gonna leave all the tender ones. Like I said, you could go ahead and try to pick off most of those stems. Some people prefer that as well. So you just try to get the leaves off. I am going to do it with all the stems today. Once again, I don't mind the flavor. Those things are often, you know, removed for texture, or once again, they're a little bit bitter, just like the skins of the cucumber. But here, when you have local cilantro, like I said, sometimes the herbs can be a little bit more delicate when they're coming from a local farm. And so when you're doing these leafy herbs like this, sometimes I go ahead and I kind of bunch them up so it's easier to cut them. And then I kind of roll them up, and then same thing. Be careful with your other hand, but just start rough chopping this. Today, you know, things don't have to be very small. You can leave some of the leaves whole. I'm just going to kind of run my knife through a few times. and just get kind of to the texture that I want. Always being careful of that other hand. But then you've got a nice little bunch. And I'd say this is about a quarter cup. And same thing, I'm gonna pop that in with the carrots. The cucumbers are still hanging out. They're looking pretty good. And then I think I'm gonna also start clearing up again because now we're through all the herbs from Darnell School Farm. How are we doing on herbs over here? Did you guys try all the herbs today before you put them in? Or some of them? Yeah? Okay, awesome. All right, we've got a few more ingredients. And this one is an optional ingredient. So if you know you don't like spicy at all, you don't have to put it in. But I definitely don't want to make those choices for you. So I did include it today, and I'm going to talk about how to be careful with it. And I may need to step away after this to wash my hands, just because you always want to be careful after you work with a chili pepper. So if there's anyone using this today, you can follow along. Either way, it's a good thing to know. So I did provide a jalapeno for all of you, and I'm going to use it in my salad because I do like spicy. But we are going to make it ideally the least spicy as possible by taking out the seeds. So what I usually do with peppers is I'll lay it down on my cutting board and I'll cut off the top. And so this part's all going to be hot. So you want to be careful about just how you're using your hands going forward. You know, now that you've opened up your jalapeno, I'm going to try not to touch my face or touch much around me other than my knife and the pepper. So I've taken off the top and I'm going to kind of do the same thing as the cucumber. I'm going to cut it in half. And then I don't usually typically use a spoon, but you probably could. You're going to take out all the seeds because that's what makes the jalapeno super hot. You can leave those in like to other dishes if you love seeds, if you love spicy, but in this one, I'm also going to take out my seeds because I think I just want the jalapeno flavor without much of the spice. So this is kind of how you do that just to get that jalapeno flavor. Now I'm going to take a second and I'm already going to kind of scoop these seeds away so that they're not on my cutting board anymore. And I'm going to lay down my pepper and I'm going to cut it into just like little slices the best I can. So I cut that into half. So I took the half, I cut it again into quarters. And then I'm just going to run kind of back and forth and cut it into little slices. You can even do smaller pieces if you'd like, but like I said, be careful with your hands at this point because you've already touched the hot parts of the jalapeno. Has anyone decided to use the jalapeno today, or are you guys planning to keep it out?
Anyone using the jalapeno?
That's okay. You can, now your parents can use it in a, what did you say?
Keeping the jalapeno out.
You keep it out, that's okay. Like I said, I always want to give you guys the option and just show you new ingredients. So yeah, I'll take my jalapeno and I'm just going to put it once again in that bowl with the carrot. I left my chunks pretty big. It's just Kelly and I eating it here today. But yes, you can, finely chop it into smaller pieces. It just takes a little bit longer.
Maria, does putting the jalapeno in with the sauce, which has like the vinegar and everything, does that make it a little less spicy by mixing it with the vinegar?
Yeah, I do think that like usually when you have like a chili pepper or jalapeno kind of like in a dish like this, that vinegar and the salt kind of offset that heat.
The spice.
But yeah, it shouldn't be very hot. Let's see. I'm brave, so I'm gonna try just a piece of jalapeno on its own and see how I react. I may regret it. See, I actually don't get any heat from the jalapeno, to be honest. Like I said, a lot of that comes from the seeds. So it all depends what your goals are for the recipe. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done with the cutting board. If you didn't use jalapeno, that's great. I did provide peanuts, and they are not crushed. And, you know, I am going to kind of just throw mine in uncrushed. If you have a great way to crush them, that is up to you. I've been thinking about a few different ways, even like using this plate on top of my cutting board and just, I know I didn't tell you to get a plate, but you can put those peanuts right on your cutting board and just kind of move them around. You know, if your parent or guardian has another good way to crush those up, you know, I'm open to suggestions. So this is working out pretty well for me, maybe even better than I thought. So they're getting into slightly smaller pieces. You can, you know, cut some, but that I think is just going to take way too long. I'm going to keep using my plate, and I'm going to kind of keep like putting them in a mound so that they crush in a new way every time. This is where you improvise in the kitchen. Some people may even have like a mortar and pestle at home, which is like a little dish and a pestle where you could crush them in there. I just don't have one here today. All right, is the crushing going okay? This pivot to plate crushing. All right, we are basically ready to assemble our salad, which I'm very excited about. Oh, we got a rolling pin going. We're doing a lot of improvisation for our first one today. I got like peanuts on my hands. We got some peanut eating happening. All right, are we ready to combine everything and make our salad? Yes, okay. So if you had already started this other bowl with the other ingredients, that's great. So I right now have my cucumbers in this other bowl here, in this colander. And if you can see, there's not a lot, but we've got some water at the bottom here. It's kind of hard to see, but you can just kind of shake out your cucumbers here. I think it's been about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to put them in the bowl with the carrot, the jalapeno, and all the herbs. We got some eating. Maybe I'll sneak a cucumber. Pretty salty, but I think with the other ingredients, when we all combine it, it should balance out. Okay, then we're gonna maybe do a little whisk of our sauce before we add it to the rest of the recipe. So you can drizzle that part over. Then I'm gonna put those peanuts in there. I'm gonna save a little bit on the side, put on maybe to garnish on the top. Use this same spoon for a lot of activity today, but I'm gonna mix everything up. So we're gonna mix up our cucumber, carrot salad. Holly, do you mind grabbing us 2 plates so we can try today? I'm just not as prepared as I normally am today, but you bet that I will be prepared the next session with some plates to try stuff. So I think everyone's got it mixed up. I am going to grab us some forks too. I'm going to plate some for Kelly and I because we are going to try it. I hope that Kelly likes jalapeno
I do. I love spicy.
because I made it for people who like spicy. So let's see. I think everyone's got theirs going. I think some of you might eat with us today, which is great. This is kind of why we do a recipe that you don't cook first, because sometimes we're going to have recipes that aren't going to be finished by the time we're done, and I'll have to swap it in. All right, is someone trying with us today? Let's see. Let's see if I get some with some different herbs.
That's delicious.
That's delicious, awesome. And this is the kind of salad that like kind of gets better if it sits a little bit. It'll kind of, the cucumbers and everything will soak up the flavors. Have you guys ever had anything that tastes like this before, or are these pretty new flavors for you?
There's a lot of eating going on.
What do you guys think? I'd love to hear more of your feedback if there's anyone else that wants to share what they think of the salad.
It's good.
Is it good? Do you think it's too salty, too sweet? What do you think?
Cucumber. I like peanuts. The peanut flavor is pretty good. Awesome. We could have added a little bit more.
I see a
A
lot
little bit of jalapenos.
of all right. Well, I'm so happy that most of you seem to like it.
jalapeno.
What'd you say? You made it with a jalapeno?
You want it more jalapeno?
Oh, you wanted more jalapeno? I think I would too, personally. I really like spicy. So I agree. I probably could do it.
Like a little bit of sriracha.
We did not do it with the Thai chili, but that's a unique chili to try too. And I feel like Thai chili is hotter than a jalapeno. So that's why I did that one instead. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I'd love to see if you guys took any pictures today or want to take a picture of your end result. We would love to see it. It just makes me happy to see that you got to the end with me, the end of the recipe, and you enjoyed it. So you can always email that to Kelly or me at maria@urbanseeds.org. So that's MARIA, and Kelly will send out my email as well, or she can drop it in the chat. And our next class is going to be on July 13th. We'll definitely be using one of the storybooks this time. So please start reading those. I just finished Lasagna Means I Love You. So definitely get started reading those books. This one is really cool, and I'm going to be cooking from that as well. And if there's anything that you really would love us to look at in this book for this series, we don't have all of our recipes finalized yet. So I'd love to hear your feedback if there's something in this book that you would like us to cook all together and get the ingredients for. Does that sound good? You got your book? Awesome. Yeah, this book is awesome. So, we use the knife a little bit today, but if you want to brush up on some of your knife safety, they've got some cool stuff on page 27 and 28 about holding a knife. Today we use the paring knife, so it talks about the types of knives. And then the recipe we used today was on page 170 in your book, the tangy carrot and cucumber salad. So if yours looks anything like that, we did a great job. So do you guys have any questions before we wrap up today? I want to thank, of course, the library for holding this first episode and we're here at Trinity United Methodist Church. But do you guys have any questions before we go? No. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Always, of course, remember to pick up your ingredients next month. And I'm really excited to keep getting to know you guys throughout this series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.